We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fuck.
We're going to start over. Oh, Lord. I think we're back on. I don't know what happened. Our apologies, my apologies. I know that the stream went out. The live stream went out. I think it went out on everything. Thank you to those who texted me and had tweeted me that it went out on YouTube. It went out on Twitter. And I think the PuckSports mobile app went out. That's fun. That's a good time. That's why it's fun when you do this shit live. Just that. I don't know when it went out, so my apologies. Thank you to Mike Garafolo for joining us. But, yeah, I think it went out probably 20 minutes or so in to the show. So, obviously, a lot of you missed most of live, at least, Mike Garafolo. It will be up on the podcast page later. You can watch it, replay it on YouTube, listen to it on Apple, Spotify, hey, wherever you find your podcast, of course, PuckSports.com. I'm not sure what happened. That was weird. It was everything was going swimmingly, and then all of a sudden, just everything dropped out. So apologies about that. I think we're up and running right now. Give me a thumbs up. If you're watching it on YouTube, go into the chat room and tell me that it's working. If you're on Twitter watching it, let me know. And then on the app, if you're listening on PuckSports mobile app, maybe take a picture or something and let me know that the app is working again. We talked a good chat there with Garafolo about the Seahawks game tonight, the Niners preview, health update on Uchenna Nwosu, Abe Lucas. So before we get to John Lund here in a second, and good news here with John Lund is I recorded it earlier, so nothing's going to happen there in the live stream. Uchenna Nwosu, what Garafolo told me, in case you missed it, he is hearing that Uchenna Nwosu is going to be out anywhere between 6 to 10 weeks. That's what he's hearing. Obviously, things could change, but, I mean, if we're talking 10 weeks, this is where I'm bad at math. Hold on. If we're talking 10 weeks for Nwosu, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're talking about, mid-December. That's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario would be what? 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perhaps coming back Arizona, San Francisco. So, again, if you missed that, I don't know when the live feed cut out. But if you missed it, that's what he said about Uchenna Nwosu. As for Abe Lucas, nothing new on Abe Lucas other than just the window is going to be open for him to return and all that. So, I mean, I guess cross your fingers that he's going to come back soon. Hopefully he comes back soon, but he has been, somebody that it's just hard, right? It's an injury that has lingered, and you have the chronic injury that, you talk about a chronic knee, and that's what he had last year. And so no update really there on Abe Lucas. As for Christian McCaffrey, real quick, a high probability that you never see Christian McCaffrey come back this season. So does think it's a must-win, more of a must-win game for San Francisco than it would be a must-win there for Seattle. And then one of the other things that I think most of you probably didn't hear is when we were talking about the next hiring cycle when it comes to Bill Belichick, says that he's going to have the pick of the litter. Eagles, we talked about Nick Sirianni because he lost it yesterday on a reporter asking about his job security. But Eagles, Giants, Jets, and that most people, the league, and I agree, want to see him go and be the head coach of the New York Jets, obviously, with all the drama that happened back when he was the coach there. Did he ever even coach a game? I can't even remember now. Or it was like he agreed and then quit right away. Anyways, but obviously being able to be back in the division to go up against New England. All right, I think thumbs up and it's back up and running. Again, we're good. Yeah, okay, yes, we're back. Thank you. I don't know what happened. What a shit day, huh? Hey, gremlins, cords, what's going on? All right, so we're back up and running. Again, if you missed Garafolo, it will be up later on YouTube. You can listen to it on Apple and Spotify and all those platforms. Please, we keep mentioning this. I know we're doing it live, but also the podcast platforms are massively important to us. So please like and subscribe, leave comments there. It all helps the cause. And of course, you can find everything up there at PuckSports.com. All right, I caught up with John Lund earlier today, and John is a longtime talk show host down at KNBR. Down in San Francisco. Been doing it for a very long time. He's the pregame and postgame show host of the San Francisco 49ers. John and I used to work together back in the day down in Portland. We were at 910 The Fan there in Portland, Oregon. That's where I met Ian Furness. And we have been friends for a very, very long time. And he is one of the best in the business. He is John Lund. He's got a great, unique perspective on all things sports. He's a fun guy, and he does a hell of a job where he covering the San Francisco 49ers. So a conversation earlier there with John Lund from KNBR, pre- and post-game show host for the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, this is a real treat, kiddo.
Hold on. I knew there was going to be. This has been the day of issues everywhere. This has been an issue day. And this is why live media is the very best. And this is why I want to do it.
We've got a legend on the show, the Daily Puck Drop. Ladies and gentlemen, from KNBR in San Francisco, John Lund, talk show host extraordinaire, 49ers pre- and post-game show, husband, father, degenerate gambler, drinker, fangirl supporter, and all-around great human being. John, how are you?
Other than legend, which you're using very liberally, all that other stuff is true. Degenerate gambler. I did marry a fangirl up in Portland back in the day. Been divorced and paying her for a long time. That's been a lot of fun. So that was nice. Other than that, everything is good except for the 49ers suck. But I'm a content guy. I'm just like you. Content. So everybody's moping around KNBR going, oh, I can't believe they lost. I go, guys, this is content. Them winning all the time is boring. This is great.
You never want middle of the road. You either want really good or just to be craptastic so people are angry.
And everybody here thinks that they have a right to go to the Super Bowl every year. So everybody thought, they'll be 5-0 and they'll be right back to where they were last year and everything. And now, Brandon Ayuk and Debo and Kyle, and now it's a dumpster fire. And John Lynch was on our morning show this morning, and he's Mr. Optimistic. He's like Pete Carroll used to be, but now this morning he's like, hi, how are you? Everything. So everybody's like, sky is fun because we're like you guys. The Giants suck like the Mariners suck. The Warriors, you don't have a basketball team, you got a hockey team, you have hope, even though yesterday was bad. But the Warriors suck, but they trot Steph Curry out there. So the only hope we have for sports, the Sharks are terrible. So the only hope we have is the Niners, and when they're 2-3, everybody's like,
sky is falling. Absolutely, sky is falling
for us. But that's bad for people's health, I guess.
Yeah, Thursday night football. Hawks wearing the throwbacks. Niners come to town. They've been talking a lot about a must-win. Now, Seattle really hasn't played that card. You surprised so much how San Francisco is playing that card.
I'm glad you asked that question. So get this. This morning, John Lynch said it's not a must-win, but it's something. I'm down at Levi Stadium right now, and I was in the locker room yesterday, and Nick Bosa goes, well, it's not a must-win, but it's a gotta-have-it or whatever they do. So apparently Kyle Shanahan gave them this speech yesterday that was, this is not a must-win because that means the season's over, but it's they're trying to term this game a certain way. But here's the problem with that is if you lose that game and you called it so important, then what's the rest of the season? And here the problem is, okay, after this game, let's say they lose and go to 2-4 and people freak out more. Then it's Kansas City at home after that. It's Dallas after that. They still got games against the Seahawks again, but at Buffalo, at Green Bay, the early part of the schedule was supposed to be easy for them. And then it was supposed to kind of be like, it might get hard here. They don't beat Kansas City. Not only in Super Bowls, but last time they were here a couple years ago, they beat the 49ers at Levi Stadium 44-23. So, I mean, if they're 2-4, they're probably going to be 2-5.
Yeah, it's because you can put too much on one game.
Yeah.
And you put too much on one game, all of a sudden, I mean, the best will press. And that could be, too much pressure on them. I mean, listen, they're banged up just like the Seahawks are banged up. But you start going to that mentality, God, if we don't win, this season's over. God, who knows how players react, right?
Yeah, and just to kind of give you a scene setter, it's not too much to use this word with them. They're desperate to win a Super Bowl because the Seahawks actually at the end of their run and what the 49ers are right now, there's a lot of parallels. But the difference was the Seahawks won a Super Bowl. Now they should have won 2. But they won a Super Bowl. So you can put them on that pedestal of Super Bowl winning teams and you can celebrate them and the guys can come back. It's the 10-year anniversary, all these different things. If the 49ers don't win a Super Bowl with this current group, then they join the Harbaugh 49ers of, really, really good, and Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman, all those guys, but they never won it. And so what's happening now, here's the parallel. Sorry, it took me a minute to get to it. But Brock Purdy is going to get paid next year, just like Russell Wilson got paid. And all of a sudden what happened was it deteriorates the defense, which is happening here, the depth, which has already happened here. So, all of a sudden Cliff Averill and Michael Bear, all these guys are not getting paid, or you're just kind of chipping away at it. Well, Bosa's always going to be here and Warner's always going to be here. But now that Brandon Ayuk got paid, Charvarius Ward is a free agent. One of their corners, Demo Lenore, former Oregon Duck, which I know you love so much. He's a free agent at the end of the year. Talanoa Hufanga, free agent at the end of the year. So all of a sudden you have to start deciding, okay, what pieces do we really need to keep? Well, they've paid Kittle, they've paid Warner, they've paid Bosa, they're going to pay Purdy, they've paid McCaffrey. So they're paying what they decided are their core players. But we all know that it's not just about core players. It's about all these other guys who contribute that if you don't follow the team every day or every week, you don't know. So they're getting into that situation, same as the Seahawks did at the end, but they haven't won a Super Bowl, which is creating this. I'm not kidding you because I'm here right now. This pressure, like I told you about John Lynch this morning. I'm not kidding. He was like depressed because they know that once they pay Brock Purdy this next offseason, they're going to lose guys. And that's just what happens. And so, but they haven't won it. So Kyle Shanahan honestly believes they should have 2 or 3 of these things by now, but they have none, which is creating this pressure that honestly people are in a shitty mood. Like all of a sudden everyone around here is like, honestly, you can feel it when you come down here because and desperate's not too strong of a word. They're desperate to win a Super Bowl. And all of a sudden they're seeing, like today's George Kittle's 31st birthday. Like that doesn't sound old to me and you. I'd love to be 31 again.
I'd kill to be 31 again.
I was absolutely 31. Put me in the time machine. But in football years, and especially as hard as he plays, he's questionable again this week because he just plays balls out all the time. And 31 is starting to get old. So, that's what they're up against right now. And I think they're starting to feel it as a team. And so you see it and feel it down here. And then when they get on the field and things start to go wrong, then you're starting to kind of see a desperation in their play, which you don't want to play tight. You want to play loose and have fun. And that's not how they're playing.
Yeah. And then with that, when Purdy gets paid, because, it's not only just what it means for the cap and what it means for the loss of players. You know what? It happens. I don't care who you are. Maybe it doesn't happen with the Chiefs. I don't know because they've won. But you get jealousy and a little resentment because I guarantee there'll be players on that team that are going to look at that. And as much as they like Brock Purdy and as much as players back in the day liked Russell Wilson, they're going to be like, yeah, but we're really the reason why we're good.
Right.
It's not the quarterback.
No.
He's good, but he's not like the guy.
No, and what's starting to happen too is okay, the center of this all offensively is Christian McCaffrey's out. But everybody's talking about that like he's going to come back. He has Achilles problems on both feet, like both. And so it's kind of like Sherman's situation is last year in Seattle. Like at some point, 1 or 2 or both are going to burst. So they're kind of holding him out because they don't know how long he can last once he comes back. But then the problem becomes offensively, Brandon Ayuk holds out. He's still not right. Now, he had a great week last week, but he's kind of getting under it. Deebo Samuel flat out sucks. I mean, he has something like 15 carries for 36 yards on the ground. He was this revelation. He can't get off man coverage, so he's a problem. He had 1 catch last week. George Kittle is always hurt. Jordan Mason's been kind of a revelation, but they're kind of like the Seahawks. They don't care about their offensive line. They don't really put a lot into it. They think they can coach it up. So then you look at it offensively with McCaffrey, it's all great. But what's happening is they can't get off man coverage. They can't. Their red zone offense is one of the worst in the league. Last year it was one of the best. It was the best. They scored 70% of the time touchdowns inside the red zone, and McCaffrey scored the majority of those, and he's out. So other guys are supposed to take it up, but Ayuk hasn't been ready. Debo hasn't been good. Kittle's been off and on hurt. The offensive line stinks. So you look at this team and go, oh, my God, they have so many weapons. They're going to crush it. But the crux of that was McCaffrey, and whenever he comes back, that's fine, but everybody's going to be holding their breath.
I'm just getting going online right now to get Seahawks plus the points. I mean, Jesus. God, it's 3.5.
No, and look,
I'm going to run now to bet on the Seahawks.
Right, and they can win by 50. That's kind of been their nature. But they're 0-2. Here's the thing. They're 0-2 in the division. They shouldn't have lost. The Rams stink, and so they lose to the Rams. And then they're up 23-10 in the half of the Cardinals, and they didn't score in the second half. And so, again, if you look at the overall numbers, they're not bad. But offensively, the red zone is killing them. They're scoring on about 40% of touchdowns on 40% of the red zone trips. And last year they scored on 70. And so everybody around here is like, oh, Christian McCaffrey will come back. I'm like, really? He will? Because the Achilles is the worst injury right now in all of sports. And he's got him on both legs. So that doesn't sound very good.
You chance you don't see him at all this year. Is this a thing that cuts his career short, like ends it?
I don't think that. But again, we see Achilles all the time. Kirk Cousins is dealing with it, and he's not moving great, although he's playing well. But, this is the worst injury, and it affects you the most. It's not that he is not going to play this year, but I'll ask you. I mean, you're a Rhodes Scholar. You went to Washington State.
Yes.
I'll ask you a very simple question. If a guy has to leave the country and go to Germany to have something fixed that can't be done in this country, I don't know about you, but that sounds like that's not very good.
Anytime I hear
here's a plane ticket to Germany. Yeah. We don't want to sanction this in the NFL, and we won't even do these procedures in the US, but go to Germany and then come back. That sounds like your guy's in some trouble.
Yeah, of course. Anytime I hear an athlete is getting on a plane to go to Germany, I'm like, done.
Yeah.
It's just done.
I'm just saying, how teams are. They're not going to tell you what's going on, and they paint this optimistic picture. But I'm just saying, the Achilles is the worst injury. He has 2 of them, and he just went to Germany. Now, maybe he'll play this year because they'll get that desperate, but that doesn't sound very good. And I'm clearly not a doctor. But that
all right. What injury wise? George Kittle questionable. Does he play Thursday?
Yeah, I think Kittle plays. The big offensively, other than McCaffrey, they're okay. But like the Seahawks, and the Seahawks are worse. There's no question.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have a similar philosophy in that Chris Forster is their offensive line coach. Not that you need to know that, but they have a philosophy of, hey, we'll coach him up. Well, Colt McKivitz stinks at right tackle. Their right guard is a rookie out of Kansas who's pretty good. Their center gets overwhelmed. So inside, like Hankins would just blow him over like a leaf. So they'll blow him up. And then their left guard stinks, Aaron Banks. And then Trent Williams is really good, but he held out, wasn't in training camp, and he hasn't been Trent Williams so far. So a lot of it has to be – the one thing you'll see this week that you haven't seen from Brock Purdy yet is he's leaving the pocket constantly because of the man coverage, which these guys can't get off of. But also, so there's nowhere to go with the ball, and he's running around and scrambling like crazy. It hasn't been as effective. And then the second thing I think is he's going to get his head knocked off. Like, he's not Josh Allen. He's small. He's not, young from the Panthers small, but he's a small guy, and he's taking some wicked hits. And I'm thinking to myself, this is just a matter of time. For some reason, he's leaving the pocket more than he ever has.
He has been brilliant against Seattle. I was looking up his numbers. I mean, he's 4-0. He's got 8 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's got a passer rating, John, of 115. He's averaging 287 yards a game. He's been electric against these guys.
He hadn't lost a game to the NFC West until the last couple of weeks with the Rams and the Cardinals. It's not that he's not good still. He is, and he's getting a lot more credit because they've had guys injured, or in Ayuk's case came in late, and he's still playing good. So everybody's like, oh, it's just his weapons. He's not that good. He is really good. There's no question. But since Kansas City in the Super Bowl, teams have said, we're going to man you up. We don't think you can get off it. Debo can't. Kittle's not a great route runner. He often gets compared to Kelsey, but he's not that. He's a great blocker, catcher of the pass as a combination. Not a great route runner. Ricky Pearsall, who, they're just having a weird season. He got shot. And, so if they had Pearsall, that's why they drafted him. They didn't draft him really as insurance for Ayuk. they draft him because he can get off man coverage. And so he hasn't played. Juwan Jennings. But you're getting to my point of McCaffrey. Like, they're sitting here crying up here. Now, you guys have really good skill position guys. But even without McCaffrey, Jennings is really good. Ayuk is really good. Debo supposedly is good. Jordan Mason, I don't know. I haven't looked this week, but was second in the league in rushing. So he's been a revelation and knows how to run in the zone scheme. Like, they have plenty of talent to get this thing done. And between the 20 and the 20, they've gotten a lot of yards. But the drop in the red zone, they were 1 for 6 in the red zone scoring touchdowns last week against Arizona. They haven't gotten it done. And specifically, not to get all Greg Pop on you, but like 20-yard line in is the red zone. The low red zone puck is the 10-yard in. And they just haven't been able to run the ball and, like that. And so they've just, I don't know. I mean, he can break out of it, but like, how Andy Reid does all this crazy stuff in the red zone. Like, Kyle Shanahan just thinks, I'll just do what I do.
He has like a totally different offense once he gets in the red zone.
And so, I mean, Andy Reid is nuts and you just can't stop it. And you have Mahomes, of course, but they've just struggled in the red zone. So they, it's not that they won't move it on the Seahawks, especially with the Seahawks injuries. It's just the red zone has been a totally different deal for them. And, oh, by the way, they're breaking in a new kicker because their stupid kicker tried to make a tackle. It's like, what are you doing, dude?
Hey, does Papa have a sponsor for the low zone?
The low red zone?
The low red zone? Is there a sponsor? Is there a sponsor that's different than the normal red zone?
No, I don't think so. I think they read some red zone thing, but I don't. They'll probably have one soon because like 55 times a game, he's like, they're in the low red zone. I know. Not everything needs a nickname. Not everything needs a name. But yeah, you're right. You bring up a great point. Anything that's not nailed down is sponsored nowadays. So
of course, you
by Snoop Dogg. It's like I've had it with Snoop Dogg. I don't need to see the T-Mobile thing with Patrick Mahomes.
He's everywhere.
Jesus Christ. I mean,
who's everywhere? Who are you more annoyed with right now, Snoop or Jason Kelce?
Oh boy, that's an impossible question.
Yeah. I love them both, but God, it's too much.
I'm not mad whether it's a bit or it's real with Taylor Swift. I'm not a Swiftie and I could not name one song. I'm not just saying I just don't. But she's making money for the league one way or the other. All those people are going out and buying stuff. And so I don't really have an issue with it. It's just that, like, dude, how much money do you think, like, Travis Kelce's doing it because honestly, she's probably saying to him, like, I have billions. You only have millions. Like, catch up. I'm not buying every dinner and every vacation. Let's go. Under pressure. But like Snoop Dogg, dude, you've been making records since like the early 90s. But still, like, what are you going to do? Another Joker's Wild? Like, dude, he got paid, what, $500,000 a day at the Olympics? Like, dude.
No, was that really what it was?
Yeah, it was $500,000 a day. It's like, hey, dude, to just be at like, hey, look who's at fencing. It's like that guy has to have billions with a B. And it's like, if I had that, it's like, what are you doing? Why are you on a T-Mobile commercial, dude?
Just retire.
God.
Kick it up on the beach.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, oh, he's got that. He's got Corona. So it's like he is just, it's obnoxious. It's like, dude, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Kelsey's doing it because she's going to dump his ass if he doesn't start making some real money.
Yeah.
She makes what he makes in a year in one concert.
I know. It's insane. Hey, what, back to the Niners for a quick sec. Interior line. What's they're pretty banged up in there. And what was Arizona? Yeah, what was Arizona so effective with, especially in that game last week against them? Well,
the D line is banged up, but again, this goes back to the what happened to the Seahawks has happened to the Niners. They had to let Eric Armstead go. He's in Jacksonville. They signed Javon Hargrave. He's been crummy since he got here, but he got hurt. He's out for the year. They spent a bunch of money on him out of Philadelphia. Now it's Jordan Elliott is hurt, who came over from Cleveland, and he's not very good. So now they're down to guys like Kevin Givens, this guy named Kalia Davis, who was like a 6th-round pick out of Central Florida, hasn't played at all, and they're all excited to get him back. He's hardly ever played. So what they're back to is the interior of the defensive line isn't very good, and so now Bosa gets chipped every play because Bosa's going to be across from Stone Forsythe, which is isn't he in Pearl Jam? But like it's a great name. It'd be a great porn star name, like
yes, it is.
Stone Forsythe,
Yeah, maybe he is in porn. Good for him.
But he could be. He's like 6'9".
Yeah, why not?
But but Bosa's going to be across from him. But then what that means is Fant's going to chip him, a back's going to chip him, somebody's going to come over, a guard's going to hit him. So other guys got to step up. Leonard Floyd's decent. He doesn't hold an edge, but he's decent getting the quarterback. But the interior of the defensive line is a problem. I'll give you a stat that will just amaze everybody listening. So last year, about 14 games into the season, Arizona rushed for 234 yards against the 49ers. Up to that point in that season, so 2023, first 14 games, the 49ers were giving up about 72 yards on the ground at about 3.6 a carry. Since that game, the Cardinals must have opened up some floodgates and figured it out for other teams, because they've had 12 games, and that includes Detroit and Green Bay in the playoffs and the Super Bowl against Kansas City. They're giving up about 60 more yards and a full yard per carry at about 4.8 a carry. So teams are running on them. And that was a staple for the 49ers, where you just didn't do that. Well, what you just said about the defensive line is true. They're banged up. Fred Warner played last week and had 12 tackles, but he can't move right now. He's got a bad ankle. Drake Greenlaw blew out his Achilles in the Super Bowl, so he's not playing in this game. And they've got two basically rookie safeties. Jair Brown is a second-year guy who runs like a 4.7 out of Penn State. And Malik Mustafa is a rookie safety. So teams have been going over the top. But my point is that you had a really solid run defense that lost Armstead, lost Hargrave, Warner's hobbling, lost Greenlaw, and have a couple of rookie safeties who make a lot of mistakes. And so all of a sudden, it's going to make sense that you're going to give up a lot more rushing yards. And that's what teams have been doing. And the Seahawks have a guy in Ken Walker who can kind of emulate James Conner. And you know him. He runs really hard. And so what happens, what they've really had trouble with is straight at him kind of stuff, inside zone kind of running right at him kind of stuff. They haven't been tackling as well. They've missed a lot of tackles, and they're missing a lot of guys. So I know Ryan Grubb, a guy you hate because he went to Washington, or was at Washington, but I know he's going to, what was it, 7 carries for running backs, 5 for Walker last week, something like that. They're going to try to run the ball. Now, I don't know that they'll be successful, but the 49ers have, it's uncharacteristic for them if you just watch them as a, every once in a while thing. But they've struggled to stop the run.
It's crazy. They've talked all about how, we're gonna reestablish the run. We can't. It's disrespectful. We got to get him the ball more. I'm gonna tell you what. The first play of the game is gonna be a pass.
Yeah,
they've just been talking too much about wanting to establish the run, and then I've heard this so many times before, and then they're gonna come out and it's like the first few plays are gonna be passes.
Well, I mean that's their strength. I mean, and their offensive line isn't, but like Geno to those 3 receivers is a strength. And here's the other thing about the 49ers. Ward, their best corner, hasn't been playing like it, and he's hurt. He's got like a couple of leg injuries that are an issue. Dima Lenore is a good corner, I will say, even though he went to Oregon and you hate him. That's an Oregon shirt you're wearing right now. I can tell it's green. But he's a really good corner, and he's kind of feisty, undersized, feisty type of guy. But behind that, they have Renardo Green, a rookie out of Florida State, a couple other guys. If it may look like, and they may be saying, yeah, we're going to run it. But really, their best way probably against the 49ers is, their secondary hasn't been very good, and they've been really susceptible against the deep ball. Minnesota got a 97-yarder against them. Tutu Atwell, of all people. Tutu
still in the league?
It beat him for a long one to help lose that game late. The Seahawks, no doubt, will go over the top with DK at least a few times to test those guys deep because the Niners haven't handled it well.
Yeah, and he hasn't been, for DK hasn't been good against them. You go back to the last few games, especially with Ward on him. All right, I've saw the stat where Ward has really shut him down. But if you're saying Ward is banged up, maybe that's something they'll try to take advantage with DK against him.
To be honest with you, I think that if they were in a less desperate situation, they probably wouldn't play Ward, but they have to. I mean, they've got to win this game, and they go 2-5, like I said, and get Kansas City, Dallas, Buffalo, Green Bay on the road. They're going to be in a really tough position. Their only saving grace is, and I think this works for both the Seahawks and the Niners, this division sucks. Like, I know they lost to the Rams and the Cardinals, but both of those teams stink. And so I think it's going to come down to the Seahawks and the 49ers because by default, I think those other teams just aren't very good. I know the Rams are going to get cut back and they'll be a little bit better, but that defense isn't very good. And I think that it's going to come down to the Seahawks and the Niners, which makes this game so important.
And it comes your way tonight. Seahawks 49ers Thursday night football. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the best down in the Bay Area, KNBR, John Lund. Catch him down there in KNBR. Also a pregame for the 49ers and postgame.
By the way, we've known each other. I try to think about this. Math is not my thing, but like 30 years or something. Like you were I think you were doing shows too, but you were our update anchor in Portland, and then also it was like Seattle. And you had been there forever, but like I've known you for like 30 years or something, like a long time. That's why, like at the beginning, you were saying that stuff, but I'm thinking it's been a long time.
It's been, and that was some golden years. You left, then Furness comes in, so that's our connection. You and Furness had the connection in Salt Lake City. We got who else? I mean, God, I can't believe. It's funny, back in those days, back in Portland, John and I used to work at 910 The Fan in Portland way back in the day, early 2000s. And God, Ropp is still there. He's still doing the afternoon drive show.
Both still there.
It's unbelievable. And then old Gavin Dawson killing it in Dallas.
He's in Dallas. So like we actually had a good group of guys, but
great group.
They wanted to pay you like $3 an hour. So like
it's about right.
I had a kid on the way, and I had a wife and stuff, and like in radio, everybody thinks like you make money or something. It's like we don't make any money, but I kind of fooled my then wife at the time, who I'm still paying. It's really great, but she was a fangirl, and I was like, man, she's super hot. Little did I know later in life she would steal literally all my money. I actually sleep in the studio that I'm at here at Levi's.
Can you imagine in today's day and age? Because people are like, "What's a fangirl?" We had girls that would come out to remotes dressed in bikinis.
Yeah, they would. They literally would, and guys would come out. And all this. Like back in the day, where people actually came out
so much
for
fun.
Like Monday Night Football and stuff, and they would just be like, "Hi," and it was like, "Yeah, that's for me." What a dummy.
And then didn't we make a calendar?
Yeah. Oh, that was unbelievable. That's what they would do, is they would sign calendars. And these guys, I mean, we could be doing a show and come up with the best things ever. And they didn't have care. Sitting next to us. They didn't want anything to do with us. Like they did not. Even the guys who normally come up to you at those kind of remotes go like, I listen every day. You're the greatest. Like those guys, even that would scare you, those stalker type. They would not even give you the time of day. Like they would just stare at the women.
God, I say we bring it back.
In today's society, they're like, we can't do that. They're going to have to be fully clothed like a nun. Seriously, they could just show their eyes, like they couldn't do that nowadays. But yeah, back in the day when you could do crazy stuff, like we would do that. I think they would, I think we had a segment on our show called like something meat. It was definitely like sexual innuendo stuff. And we'd have them out with a cooler somewhere with meat in it. And then we'd randomly ask people questions, and they're like, the fangirl's going to give you a piece of meat. Like, you could never do that now. They just get like a chuck roast out of a cooler.
It was the glory. It was the glory times.
It was, man. But you're back in them because now you don't have to answer to the man.
I know it. And the best part about doing this, no plugola, no payola.
Right, you can plug anything you want. It's the best. Do anything. By the way, the Kingdom hat, dude, solid.
How about that? Isn't that a great hat?
Kingdom hat is solid.
Bring back the Kingdom.
No, you know what you have to do nowadays? I got a bunch of these in my backpack down here. Because we're all on YouTube and everything now, like I don't normally care what I look like. I would shower for weeks on end. And now it's like if I don't do that, at least I have to throw a hat on or something. So I in my backpack, my work backpack, I have to carry like 10 different hats. So
you can change things out.
Because they get mad. Like they're like, you wore that hat yesterday, or you wore that hat last hour. And I'm like, dude, like I'm trying to not shower and just do a show and not shave. And look at you, man. You got a hat, you got the beard.
Well, I'm not wearing pants though.
So I know you're not. Yeah. Yeah, you never wore pants. I never remember you wearing pants ever. But anyway.
You're the best. Thanks for doing it, and best of luck to your 49ers tonight.
You don't mean that. You've been down here. I've seen you with your kid here. You don't mean that. You don't have to tell me that.
No, I don't mean any of it. I hope you guys. I hope they stomp the shit out of you guys.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. I would be the same.
You don't even care about the 49ers, though.
Yeah, if you want them to die a slow death, you want Purdy to get his legs amputated on the field. I mean, like that's really, and again, that's why, like, that's what you can do here. Is like normally. If you're on the radio, it's like, I was respecting both teams and blah, blah. I don't. I hope that Geno Smith, gets blown to the moon, man. I mean, it's, like you can't say that on a regular radio. It's like, man, I can't believe they said that. And then it starts on social media. Wow, Puck said,
you got to get him off.
Amputated.
You got to get him off. You got to apologize the next day. All right. You can catch this up on YouTube. Also, listen to it back on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, and of course, up at PuckSports.com. Thanks, John.
Good to see you, man.
There he is, John Lund. I hope everybody enjoyed it. John's just one of the absolute best, man. The absolute best in the business. We go back a long ways, not quite 30 years, but 2000s, 25, almost 30 years, 25 years, going back and working our days at 910 The Fan in Portland, which was just a blast. There's so many awesome people back in those days, so talented people like John. Ian was through there. I mean, God, we worked the first 2 years that I was there, or a year. Colin Cowherd was our morning show host. Of course, then he went on to ESPN, and just a lot of guys back in the day. Isaac Ropp, who is still the afternoon drive host there. Gavin Dawson, who was updates back then, now is hosting a show, an afternoon drive. Now it's like middays there in Dallas, covering the Cowboys. So big thanks to John for jumping on there. Again, we welcome you back here to the live show. If you're listening back to this later, and watching this on YouTube later, or listening back on Apple and Spotify and all the podcast platforms, we were on for like 40 minutes and something happened and it dropped off. Then we came back on. So I know most of you, or some of you, probably missed portions of Mike Garafolo, who was on earlier today. His weekly visit with us, brought to you by Zogs on Fox Island and also Hartley and Hartley Insurance. Just to recap what he said, the update on Uchenna Nwosu, he's hearing it could be anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks that Nwosu could be out for. So this was, kind of in line a little bit with what his original reporting was. When the news first came out that Nwosu was going to be placed on the IR, when Mike had it the other day, and he had texted me, he says, "Hey, go on your show with this, that it's going to be longer than the 4 weeks." Mike McDonald confirming that yesterday with all the reporters there at Seahawks, and they don't know how long, but again, worst case 10 weeks. We're getting close to the postseason and all that. Hopefully, good news is that it's just the 6 weeks, but again, that it's an injury that is a deep thigh. So we'll see. Hopefully, he gets back sooner rather than later. Defense needs it. I mean, they desperately need him back. They need all the help they can get. They need Byron Murphy back. The reason why they drafted him in the first round, so he can plug up the middle and provide pass rush and run support and all that. So not good news there on that front. We'll kind of wait and see what the very latest is. And then he also just updated Abe Lucas in that window of where he can come back. But they're taking it slow, as Mike has mentioned to us many times, taking it really slow there with Abe Lucas, because they don't want to rush him back. All right. So again, if you missed portions of it, we got back on. John Lund was good. It never dropped off there on the live feed. But again, all the full show will be up a little bit later. All right. We wrap up the show today with Hey, What the Puck. It is brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. It's your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage. They are, folks, they are the best in the business. All right. They will take care of you when any issues come to your home property, personal property, or your commercial property. They're going to take care of you. Any mold damage, water damage, fire, anything. They're locally owned and operated. They're right down here in Ballard. Great guys, Trent and the rest of his crew, just great dudes. Make them your first call when any damages affect your residential or commercial property around the area, just not Seattle. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. And again, just not Seattle. You can go anywhere and everywhere. All right. So a special Hey, What the Puck. Normally we do sports, non-sports. Usually maybe me just ranting about something or raving about something. But we're bringing in a good friend of ours who joins us right now. Oh, there he is. Look at him. Ladies and gentlemen, from Atlanta, Georgia, Andy Bunker, 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. He's joining us on Hey, What the Puck. Andy, how are you?
I'm pretty good, man. Good to see you, Jason.
Well,
cool hat.
It's good. Well, that's the Kingdom. You're too. Well, no, you're 40 now. You remember the Kingdom.
Yeah, man. I went to a lot of games at the Kingdom.
Well, sometimes here's the deal with you. I forget your age.
Okay. Well,
Anyway.
remember it. I'm 40. I turned 40 like 2 weeks ago.
No, but I always feel that you are much younger than me, and then I realize that you're not.
I feel like I used to be like 20 years younger than you. And now somehow we're both in our 40s, and I look a lot better than you. There's no question about that. But we're both, we're getting older. We're doing our best.
You are correct on that front. You do look much better than me, and I don't appreciate that. But that's clean living. That's clean Southern living. It's the bourbon. It's the hush puppies. It's all of it down there in Atlanta.
Having two small kids, it's all great for youth.
I bet it is. Hey, you reached out. We have promoted this a few times, but we wanted to get you on with Hey What the Puck, and I want you to tell all of our listeners and our viewers what you and your wife are doing down there, and how our viewers, and of course how Andy's from here, Franklin High School, University of Washington. He was an intern at KJR. He worked at Cairo before going. Where did you go? Then Portland, and then Boston.
Yeah, and I was in Portland for a couple years at the Blazers radio station, and then here.
Yeah, and so he's got Seattle blood, running through him, and so we can help him out, and we need to help him out because there's some folks all in the South, obviously with Hurricane Milton coming through yesterday, but Hurricane Helene, who was there a week ago or so. Yeah. Not only ravaged Florida, but Carolina, the Carolinas as well. So tell everyone what you and your wife are doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you for having me on to talk about this. I appreciate it. My wife is from Western North Carolina, right outside of Asheville, in a town called Waynesville, which luckily, all things considered in that region, Waynesville actually made out okay. And I think a big part of that is a lot of it is built kind of on higher elevation. It's kind of up from some of the rivers and creeks that flooded. So her hometown was okay, but the county, some of the towns just got devastated. We were up there Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, trying to do whatever we could, kind of volunteering and helping out and stuff. And I went out to a couple houses in Clyde, North Carolina, which again, nobody knows what that is, but it's close to Asheville. It's in the mountains. It's small, small communities and stuff like that. And it's right on this river. And I mean, just this city it's gone. Like the houses that are still there are completely ruined. Everything that was inside the houses is garbage. So we spent the day just like removing stuff from this house. And, that's a pretty sad thing to do, the house that we were at, 2 kids lived there, they were right around the same age, maybe a little older, but right around the same ages as my kids. So anything that the flood water touched, because the water is picking up stuff, chemicals, bacteria from everywhere, it's all a biohazard. So anything that the water touched is garbage. So we had to clear everything out of their house. And the folks that owned it said, it's like they had flooded before in the last 20 25 years or so, and this one probably was going to be it for that house, and probably true for a lot of them as well. So what we're doing, I mean, there's a lot of people doing a lot of incredible stuff up there, but my father-in-law is a teacher in that school district, and my mother-in-law works for the district as well. And a lot of the kids in Haywood County lost, like we were just talking about, lost everything, anything that's in that house, backpack, school supplies, books, all that stuff, clothes, gone. So we're raising money for the Haywood Schools Foundation. Our goal when we started doing this last week was $10,000. We've already surpassed it thanks to the donations from 92.9 The Game listeners and others. But that doesn't mean we have to stop. 10,000 was just a random number. We didn't. They're not going to send the rest back, so we're going to send them as much money as we can. So yeah, if you can donate, head to supportnow.org/the Helene Assist. That's what it's called. Maybe easier would be to go to my Twitter at TBM929. And there's a link over there. There's also a link that you can click on the station website, 929thegame.com as well. But just trying to send as much support to that school district as we can, as they'll start school again next Tuesday. And, there's kids some kids in the district got lucky and their houses are okay. Some kids lost everything. So,
and we made it easier too. If you're watching on the stream, for those listening, we'll give it out one more time. You can go back and watch it. But on the stream on YouTube and on Twitter, if you just scan that QR code, it's going to take you right to the donation tab there for Andy and his wife. So if you take a screenshot there with your phone, boom, it'll pop right on up, and then you can donate there. And they've raised over $10,000. And as Andy said, hey, you don't need to stop there. You can raise as much money as you want. And
that was a random number that I didn't think we'd get there. So I was like, I don't know, maybe. We got there in a week, which is incredible. Like so impressed by everyone's donations and all that. So cool.
I mean, that's just, coming from the Northwest, right? I mean, you've never had to deal with this. And
Nope.
It's like, I guess we deal with the earthquake, right? We sit here and wait for the big one to hit, but you never have to go through what people in the South have to go through with these hurricanes. And that's every year, right?
Yeah. It's certainly in some parts. I mean, if you're in South Georgia or you're in Florida, where the Hurricane Milton hit last night, they multiple times a year. I mean, they deal with it every single year. And obviously that's awful. The good thing about some parts of Florida is a lot of the stuff is supposed to be built to try to deal with it. You get something that, like what came through there last night, there's nothing you can do. I mean, Tropicana Field was built to sustain something like 120 mile an hour winds. It's torn to shreds. You can only do so much to try to combat Mother Nature in this way. But, Western North Carolina is not used to that stuff. They're not expecting a hurricane to make it all the way up there. And when it does, they're not expecting it to sit there in the mountains for 24 hours and dump 18 inches of rain on them in a day. And there's no way to prepare for that. So that's why it was so devastating, because a lot of, finally at the end, they're like, oh my God, this might get really bad, evacuate, or get to higher ground or whatever. And some people did and some people didn't. And a handful of people in their county and people in the region certainly died. But you're right. I never seen anything like it. We drove down this road in Canton, North Carolina, and just every house had all the stuff that had been in there, whatever, think of what you have in your house, decades of, whatever,
just personal belongings,
personal belongings, kids' artwork on the fridge, like all the stuff that's priceless. And it was all just piled up by the road, house after house, pile after pile. It's like, it's crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy to see.
You got to, again, we'll give it out a bunch of times. Again, if you're watching, just you click on that QR code. It's going to take you right to the fundraiser, the Haywood County Schools Foundation, the Helene Assist. They set a goal of $10,000. They're over that mark now, but going to still can donate as much as you can. Just any bit of it helps. You can also go supportnow.org/the Helene Assist. And then also you can go to Andy's Twitter handle. Give the handle one more time, Andy.
At TBM929.
Okay. You can donate there as well. 92.9 The Game. They have it up there as well. Andy's been hosting a show down there in Atlanta for a number of years and has a creative name for their show, Andy and Randy.
We really wanted to find two guys whose names rhymed. And you guys, I guess you don't work there anymore, but they're doing it at 9.
Thanks for noticing.
Yeah, whatever you're doing, you're having me on it. So if you still work there, you probably wouldn't be allowed to have me on. So it's nice that you're able to do your own thing. But they got their own rhyming show in the morning, so we thought we'd do our thing out here.
Just Ebony and Ivory was the name. That's what it should have been, but whatever.
Yeah, that would have been good. That would have been really good.
We couldn't have used that. And then next week, I think we should do this again next week. Because now we got a football game. We got Seahawks and Falcons next week.
Yeah, I would love to come on and talk about that.
Battle of the Birds.
Yeah, big game tonight for the Seattle Seahawks.
Big game tonight, and they're wearing the throwbacks,
which they should always wear every game. They shouldn't be throwbacks. They should be the permanent uniforms, just like the Falcons. The Falcons wore their red helmets last 2 weeks. I don't know what's so hard about just wearing your best uniforms,
But these teams, Andy, make it so difficult. You're so right. Like, everybody that watches the Falcons goes, those are beautiful. Can we just please go back to those permanently? Yep. And then if you look at the Seahawks, you'll see them tonight on Thursday Night Football. Please go back to those permanently. And then if I'm a Buccaneers fan and I see the creamsicles, I'm like, those are gorgeous. What are we doing here?
At least with the Seahawks, there's success that's happened in the new uniforms. Like that's, the Super Bowl and Super Bowl appearance and glory years, Legion of Boom. The current Falcons uniforms, the only thing anybody thinks about is 28-3. Like, so not only are they bad compared to the other ones, they also are like representing a time that everyone wants to forget. So go back to the good ones. I don't know.
Hey, one more thing before you go. Everyone, you're a huge, obviously you graduated from there. You're a huge Husky fan. What did you get much into college football last week? So when Alabama beat Georgia, I mean, do you get any, I don't know. I mean, you probably don't talk much about Kalen DeBoer. Here's what I love about Kalen DeBoer. I stumbled upon, not the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I mentioned that earlier. It was stupid. Alabama.com. There's a columnist who wrote a column today. Now, it's snarky, tongue-in-cheek, and all that. But he was critical of Kalen DeBoer's outfit on the sideline. That's part of the reason that they lost last week against Vanderbilt.
It's not, but it's a criticism of Kalen DeBoer I also had when he was at UW. It's
sloppy looking. He looks a little sloppy.
Put on a shirt that fits, or like you're sponsored. I guess they're sponsored by Adidas now, but Alabama's sponsored by Nike. They make really cool stuff. Like put on like one of these nice lightweight like hoodie T-shirts that everybody wears now, and have it fit. Like I know that had nothing to do with it, but that was a criticism that I had of Kalen DeBoer.
He does look, it's a little untucked and sloppy.
He's not dressed. He's not well dressed. He is not well dressed for a coach of a program like that. And I will say, this is not doesn't matter. So, don't be mad when you hear me say this. I don't like how Jed Fish dresses either. I think that visors are for people who aren't balding. And he's got a little, got a little thin back there. We don't want to see that. That's not alpha. You're not intimidating the opponent.
What do you think about the hoodie? So Jim Moore hates the hoodie. Doesn't like the look of the hoodie, hates the visor. He went on a whole rant about this yesterday. On the visor.
He's got his initials on the visor like he might lose it. Like this is worse than the first one I said. So if he's gonna wear a hoodie, maybe let it be a little bigger, because he's got boobs.
He's got man boobs.
He's got my brother calls them fish tits. Can we say that on this?
You can say anything you want.
Okay,
this isn't radio. Fish tits.
He's got fish tits, and he nips out. He's nipping out.
God, I love it. Milk him.
I don't know. Like, jury's out on him and his coaching staff, whatever. I'm glad they beat Michigan. That's awesome. I'm still mad about the Apple Cup because it was awful. But, like, I know you're not. But if we're gonna, like, let's clean it up. Let's cover, at least get pasties on the nipples. We don't need to see the high beams. Like, I'm glad you brought this up, Puck, because I've been meaning to get this off my chest.
I can't wait to now only reference him as fish tits.
You can call him that. That's what we call him.
This is beautiful.
He can win his way out of it with me, but it's going to take a few more, though. Got to beat Iowa. Got to beat Iowa on Saturday.
All right, you can donate. Go to that QR code. Help out Andy and his wife, and help out that community in the Carolinas. Again, the Haywood County Schools Foundation, the Helene Assist, raising money to help people that were devastated by the hurricane there a couple of weeks ago. All right, keep up the great work for this project. Also on the radio down there, you're doing great work as always, like we all knew you were going to do. And let's do this again next week. All right, let's do it again next week. We'll get a preview of the Falcons.
Happy to. You guys used to always have me on to talk Seahawks, Falcons, and stuff like that, and then it's like everybody lost my number. I don't know what happened.
It's happening. I can't speak for those guys anymore.
Do they still? What's going on at that radio station over there? Does Ian still work there?
I don't know anyone that works there anymore. I guess it shut down.
What's Mitch up to?
Yes, Ian still works there. He's killing it. You know, he's the new Kraken TV
No,
host.
I knew that. I saw that. I just didn't know if he was
Softies. They're all there. I love them to death.
I know.
I
also know what Mitch is up to. I'm just being a wise ass.
I don't know what. Yeah. Hey, is he still there? Is he still on the morning show?
That was a great show.
It was a great you were and you were a part of it.
Briefly and minimally, but it was a lot of fun to work on.
It was great. It's great. All right, man. We'll catch up with you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
you, everybody who donated, too. Thank you so much.
You got it. There he is, Andy Bunker, 92.9 The Game down in Atlanta, Georgia. Andy, again, was a long time, was an intern for us, worked at KJR, ended up going to, Portland, then Cairo, then Portland, actually Boston, all over the place. Franklin High School graduate, and University of Washington graduate there as well. All right, that's it for Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call, folks, when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Wow, that was an interesting show today, kids. A real interesting show. We started off guns a-blazing. The live stream dropped after 40 minutes, but we persevered and we made it back on. So for all those who came back, whether you're watching on Twitter, on YouTube, also on the PuckSports mobile app, thank you. Also, give me some feedback. I need to hear from people on the PuckSports mobile app. If there are issues with it, I heard yesterday maybe it was cutting in and out. I need to hear that from you. So please feel free to reach out with any issues at all. I'll mention this again. My Jacob, the app guy, tells me that we should have Google Play, so Android, available on the Android phone the end of the week. So hopefully tomorrow, if not by the weekend. So for all those who have Android phones, Google Play Store, it should be in there very, very shortly. Big thanks to all the guests, Mike Garafolo, NFL Network. In case it cut out and you missed it, go back and watch that on YouTube and Apple and Spotify and all the podcast platforms. And again, please like and subscribe. It all helps. Please do that. And same deal there for John Lund will be up there as well, getting a 49ers preview ahead of Thursday night's football game. Also, coming up tomorrow, it's a Friday extravaganza. We'll recap, of course, the Seahawks game. The Ground Puck podcast with Tim and Curtis will still be on Monday. So it'll be me, Jim stopping on by again, our handicapper Troy Wins stopping by. We'll go over the weekend action in the National Football League, also in college football. Reaction, of course, to tonight's football game. Voicemails. We've got a few. We could use some more Friday voicemails. We'll do it at the end of the show with Jim. You can go to the website, PuckSports.com. You'll see the number there. Give us a ring. Try to keep it between 30 seconds and a minute. It doesn't cut you off like the old voicemail one does. The number for those listening is 425-577-7272. Joe Nash. 425-577-7272. Also, just quickly on the college football front for our podcasts that are just exclusively on those platforms, the podcast platforms. No Coug content this week because they didn't have a game. We'll be back next week with Coug's Corner and also Old Crimson with Jim Moore and Paul Sorensen. The Puck the Huskies podcast, though, is up and available on all of the platforms with Elise Woodward, sideline reporter for University of Washington, and Jordan Reffett, former defensive tackle for the Huskies and delusional. And by the way, guys, you know what? He's just trolling. What Jordan's doing is building his brand in that old Twitter. We get into we should be 6-0 talk on this week's show. Also talk about their win against Michigan, why they continue to play teams with no quarterbacks except for one, which they lost, and the outlook on playing Iowa 9 a.m. there, and how will that all shake out. So if you want to check it out, it's up and it's available right now. We'll talk to you tomorrow. on a Friday as we'll recap the Seahawks game. But until then, as always, we promise to be better. And really, with how today went, we better deliver that tomorrow will be better. Thank you for watching and listening.
No shirt, no shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah. I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rob you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!